The legendary game that serves as an example to the developers of Minecraft and Dwarf is finally hitting Steam after 16 in premium version with improved graphics and systems. It has been called the game industry's most complex project and an ideal for mad geniuses who aren't even close to the completed development. Dwarf Fortress is incredibly difficult to describe, but it was definitely ahead of its time. Dwarf Fortress was invented by brothers Turn and Zage, the founders of a Bay 20 game studio from the USA. The project was born after years of experimentation by the two programmers, lovers of roguelikes, and Dungeons and Dragons role-playing system. The first incarnation with the title Slaves to Armok, God of Blood Chapter 2 Dwarf Fortress was released in 2000, but 6 years later it was remade in Dwarf Fortress. The main thing for enthusiasts was not the graphics but the depth of the development, with the ability to quickly introduce new content. For many years, Dwarf Fortress was the province of a select few brave enthusiasts willing to immerse themselves in intricate control mechanics, minimalistic character-esque graphics, and incredibly complex gameplay. It grew in popularity thanks to fans creating the coolest life stories of their clans, which teased gamers hasn't yet ventured into the modeled multi-layer manuals. Until recently, the game was distributed for free, and the authors were supported by sponsors. Perhaps it would have continued, but the birth of the commercial Steam version was facilitated by Zach's illness. Some serious money was needed. Dwarf Fortress is a colony management simulator with in-depth control and a fantasy world modeling roguelike. The whole world not part of it. After setting the first setting, not only landscape, climate and nations are formed, but also geological and cultural features, history, myths and legends. Each player gets a unique universe. Yes, with its own rules, but prepared especially for him. The developer thought and continued to work on every aspect of the fortress existence, from the needs and desires on wardrobe to the whole world. But even the new version, the visual part is not the prettiest. Even after serious reworking, the inhabitants of the fortress and other creatures have no complex animation. The movements are simplistic. The textures of the game lands are simple and unimpressive, and here opinions about the appearance depend on the experience of playing the SE edition. Spoiled newcomers will say and veterans say wow, it's very cool. Either way, it works just fine, and this look is not just a bow to the original, but a necessary because of the sheer amount of action going on in the world at any given time. Beautiful graphics and animation even on the most productive home PC will create a load, making the game impossible. The game world at first glance is two-dimensional, but this is a misconception. One should roll the mouse wheel and you understand that it consists of dozens of layers, atmospheric, surface and subsurface of the planet. But science, you are dealing with a rare of dwarfs. Most often you have to dig down into the intriguing unknown. In Dwarf Fortress, there is no conversion narrative. A story is defined, a place on the map is chosen, and the rest of the story component is written by the player. Taking care of the colony, building the fortress, and turning it into a self-sufficient settlement. Each inhabitant is an individual with a lot of individual traits, attitudes, emotions, needs and relationships. He will be happy especially when he drinks something hot, then sad, fall in love, give birth to children, grieve for a dead friend, commit a crime or slander an innocent to save his own skin. It is desirable that all residents have their own specialty. No one wants to spend his life in meaningless wandering, but gets a hide from his favorite cause. But sometimes his behavior seems unreasonable and even idiotic, in general as in life. There are 3 models in the Steam version. two of which are available as of December: the Fortress mode with planning and building your own town, and the Legendary mode with exploring the history of the world. The third adventure mode with ability to travel the world, completing tasks as one of the drawers, will appear later. The most popular is the Fortress mode. Initially, a convoy of 7 draws appears on the preselected piece of land with a wagon full of supplies, and pulls down roots by digging into the mountains or ground. You have to build rooms, workshops, warehouse, and prepare to survive by providing the basic needs of drinking, eating, and resource through hunting, fishing, farming, herding, and gathering. The water, a self-respecting dwarf, will drink only in a dying state, so it is necessary to master the production of drinks containing alcohol. Dwarves love comfort and convenience, and of course every resident will want to get a separate finished room. For this purpose, workshops are organized for the production of furniture, tools, and household items. Some goods will come in handy for trading with wandering enterprises or neighbors. The game has a huge number of items, and in addition to workshop for processing stone and wood, you will need to master metalworking. But first you have to find ore, processing into ingots, mixed into alloys, and then start producing, for example, equipment and weapons. And there are a lot of similar type of employment, making clothes, bows, jewelry, soup making, and more. For efficiently in battles, inventing army system with combat skills to protect the colony from goblins, vampires, and other terrible beasts. To avoid turning the game into a chaos when the settlement starts to grow, there are tools to optimize small things through managers with separate offices: multimedia commander, sheriff, manager, accountant, and so on. There are also automation of certain processes, such as endlessly making booze, food potion, and more. The soundtrack is a nice addition to the atmosphere of the project. It sets the mood, set up the hard work together with your clan, and change at key moments. And what about the melodies played in the taverns by bards? You feel like a true drunken dwarf. You and your feet are beginning to dance. Development goals of the fortress are optional: to survive, to multiple survives, to be able to defend against the enemy, to turn the settlements into the capital of civilization, or just to lose in the most cheerful way. No one prevents you from inventing your own unique higher meaning of existence, to create the most famous tavern, to fill the world with masterpieces, or to bury yourself as deep as possible in the ground and survive. Literally, the main task is to enjoy the game. There are so many options in the game that the different players are unlikely to have similar scenarios. This is the beautiful and terrible thing about Dwarf Fortress. The horror is that there is simply no victory condition. Besides, it is not always possible to predict what will kill a colony that has existed 100 hours. Thirst, hunger, flooding, ruthless goblins, or bloodthirsty cave creatures. In this case, a loss awaits in every game. Some will give up and go to create a new fortress, taking into account the mistakes, and for the other it will be a big disappointment. After all, even after years of experimentation, it's unlikely that anyone will confidently call himself a professional player. And another important nuance: Dwarf Fortress has a lot of text in English, and important text that gives an understanding of what is happening. There are imperfect but acceptable ways to translate into another languages. The Adams brothers made the game as close to reality, focusing not on the niceties but on the elaboration of systems. It's a project about experimentation and problem solving in a constant, unique world where every action has surprise, and a rash move or accident can lead to disaster and death of the individuals. But the game's unofficial slogan is "Losing is fun." Dwarf Fortress blossoms once you get into spirit and feels like a lot over violent individuals, because their well-being depends on the creator of this world. At the same time, no one forbids to be an evil goat, thirsty for the blood of small, strong in spirit and body, but entirely discounted creature. Dwarf Fortress is a game about getting out of your comfort zone, about difficulties, about surprises, about finding the meaning of existence. It is a grandiose, dynamic canvas dedicated to the life of creature infinitely similar to Earth. Thank you for watching.